It had the makings of one of the most unique WWE pay-per-views that we've seen maybe ever, and it ended up in the end and in the long run in probably being the most unique of 2020. It's going to be a polarizing show, whether you hate it or you love it. Money in the Bank 2020 went down on pay-per-view on May 10th, on Mother's Day, May 10th, 2020. Emanating from two locations, the match portion of the pay-per-view, the undercard, emanating from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, amid the still ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, although it does seem like there might be a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel in some states. And the main event, Money in the Bank ladder matches, happening from the WWE headquarters. Corporate headquarters, worldwide headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. I'm Kellen Nitro. Welcome to Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and this is my take, Nitro's take, on the 2020 Money in the Bank pay-per-view that was shown on the WWE Network. And yeah, it's going to be polarizing for sure. So opening things up, the Kickoff Show I thought was actually pretty decent. It felt like a real kickoff show for any legit sports event or even the higher end WWE pay-per-view show like a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble or something. It was awesome analysis with Stanford, and I thought that the chemistry with Stanford and Rosenberg was actually really good in studio. And then they flipped it to the WWE backstage panel with Renee Young and Booker T. And that crew kind of discussing the matches and that stuff. And then we had our opening contest of the pay-per-view, and this was a banger to kick off the show. Jeff Hardy versus Cesaro. So two guys that are kind of poised to be getting, one a mid-card push, and then if you believe the rumors, where Jeff Hardy could be getting one final big main event push on Smackdown here for his career before perhaps maybe hanging him up after next year's WrestleMania, or looking at a potential WrestleMania feud with Edge. You look at it what it is, but this was an incredible opener for sure. This was a sensational, hard-hitting encounter. Cesaro is in total control throughout the first few minutes of this match. It's a great match. Cesaro tries for the gut-wrench suplex from the top, allowing Hardy to hit the Whisper in the Wind after he shakes him off. And then Hardy connects with the Twist of Fate for only a 2 count. And Cesaro does eventually hit that top rope gut-wrench suplex, but only lands a 2 out of it. But on that attempt, Cesaro wrenches his knee and starts selling the knee on the outside. And this would lead to his downfall as Hardy attacks the knee and eventually gets the 1-2-3 with a Swanton bomb. So actually the runtime for this was 13:30 according to the old Wikipedia timer. I have it slotted as just about a shade over 15 minutes, but the actual runtime 13:30. Very entertaining 13:30 as well. And just front to back action. Go check this match out. It was on the pre-show, so you can watch it anywhere on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, you name it. Just go check it out and see it. It was pretty much streamed everywhere, and I thought it was one of the highlights of the show for sure. The Fatal 4-Way Smackdown Tag Titles match was up next with the champions, the New Day, walking in against the Lucha House Party. The Forgotten Sons using the alignment tonight of Cutler and Blake in this match, and Miz and Morrison. The Forgotten Sons, though, it's weird. Since their debut on SmackDown, they kind of remind me of every single kind of smaller indie tag team from about 10 years ago. The guys that look redneck and probably showed up to the show, driving lifted trucks, perhaps with a Monster Energy decal on the back. Maybe the fake cow testicles hanging from the trailer balls, stuff like that, It just kind of give off that vibe. I mean, you're watching them and you can kind of smell the Monster Energy permeating through the screen and just kind of coming at you. 5-figure death punch if they were a wrestling tag team. But I will give them this. Their tandem movements and their double team movements and that stuff are actually surprisingly good. The team is very entertaining. Right now, they kind of feel a little bit more of a stopgap until the Usos can figure out, what direction they're going to be planning to go with them. I can't remember which one's hurt and such right now at this point. But apparently it's like a longer term injury too. So I think that on SmackDown, they really are filling that void. And it was kind of a head scratcher here when I saw them get called up, because it's kind of like, okay, they really didn't get a run with the NXT tag titles or anything, just due to the fact that you had Undisputed Era over the past few years just kind of dominate that division and hold on to those belts for a long time until, you'd have maybe your odd team here or there pick them up and roll with them. But they impressed me a little bit tonight. Grand Metalik on a Lucha House Party has an ECW era Juventud Guerrero look to him tonight. I loved it. It was really cool. Dorado lands a near two after banishing Miz, kind of throwing him out of the ring and grabbing a couple near falls on Morrison in the ring. Actually, Morrison and Dorado had a really good sequence. It was very Lucha inspired. Skull crushing finale and Starship Pain on Big E lands for a 2 for Miz on the ring while Morrison did the cover. Miz and Morrison. So it was kind of the tandem, not really double team of their finishes, but both finishes, one after the other. Amazing rope walk and elbow drop for 2 on Big E by Metalik. And Riker of the Forgotten Sons kind of gets involved a little bit as the group kind of comes up on the outside. And the ref sees it, stops the action on the outside. This is a first that I've ever seen in this type of match. Rather than somebody just dive out to the outside, the ref stops it, and he immediately kind of just banishes Riker to the back. But the issue with it psychology-wise isn't a fatal 4-way, no disqualification, no count-out match to begin with? Weird. Anyway, I kind of had that assumption that it was, but New Day retains, though, as Big E shakes it off and gets the 1-2-3, hitting the big ending on Grand Metalik. And, like I said, the New Day of Kofi Kingston and Big E retained the SmackDown Tag Team titles, baby, in 12 minutes even. And, again, another solid match. This one echoing the same sentiments from the pre-show, where it was a very solid opener and then another solid fatal 4-way match, and man, it was good. The next contest was supposed to be R-Truth taking on MVP in a little situation that's kind of sprouted up over the past couple of weeks on Monday Night Raw. It was a very confusing set of circumstances to begin this thing. MVP's reemergence as a competitor during COVID-19 has been a pleasant surprise. He's also been kind of a manager of sorts for the NXT call-up tag team of Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink, the 2 Australian heels that are in NXT right now. And, they've been kind of called up temporarily to the main roster. I'm not sure if these guys are going to stick permanently or not once some semblance of normalcy hits. But, it's been a really refreshing kind of run to see MVP, who lives locally in Florida, get a run again as kind of a part-time guy on Monday Night Raw. Maybe he's agenting in the back a little bit or so, but I think that he's a good grab for WWE for sure. It's weird. We just got through a period where they let go a bunch of good hands, and it seems like, now that I realize that they brought him in prior to letting go all those people. But, that's kind of the one silver lining that we've seen for this COVID pandemic thing, is kind of the reemergence of MVP as a character and as a kind of a mid-card heel on Monday Night Raw. Backlash is announced for June 14th. Still no word if it'll be elsewhere or if it'll be at the WWE Performance Center. I guess we'll wait and see. So R-Truth and MVP get into some sort of squabble. I really wasn't paying attention at this point. Bobby Lashley's music hits, and he tells MVP to take the night off. And MVP is all too happy to oblige. And the match becomes Bobby Lashley versus R-Truth. This match doesn't go long at all. It only goes a minute 40. Lashley hits a spear, 1-2-3. And kind of gets reestablished as this mad power heel now on Raw, sans Lana. So I think they're kind of distancing Lashley away from Lana right now. That storyline looks like it's going to reach its conclusion a little bit, and I think Lashley is just going to go back to being a power heel, and he plays that role really good, really well. So looking forward to see what that brings. Next match was the Smackdown Women's title, Bayley taking on Tamina. So some dissension in the ranks. Bayley saying at the end of an interview that she didn't mean to hang Sasha out to dry on Friday, and Sasha kind of rolling her eyes a little bit. After Bayley leaves the scene to head out to the ring for her match, and then she falls merrily behind after. Maybe planting the seeds a little bit. I think this might be a storyline that they're going to pull later in the year. I don't think that this is the time nor the place to really launch it. I think that maybe that might be something for a SummerSlam Survivor Series, perhaps, to launch if they're looking at a Bayley Sasha Banks potentially for Mania. If it does go ahead in Hollywood next year, because by that time I think Sasha's rap album will have dropped and we'll have some sort of gauge on how well it will have done in the charts and if she's any sort of celebrity from it or whatever. Anyway, match starts and Bayley attacks Tamina's legs and knee a little bit early on, but then Tamina turns the tables a bit, but Bayley hits a knee bar, no submission on Tamina, but really good storytelling there. Tamina though flips the switch after an old school water bottle dump by Bayley into Tamina's face. And man, all of a sudden the switch just goes whoop like that, and Tamina just becomes power face. Like, man, she is just, bulldozing anything that moves ringside at that point. Tamina hits Bayley with a Samoan drop, but Sasha interrupts the count. And while Tamina's chasing Sasha, Bayley lands a crucifix pin for the 1-2-3, and Bayley wins. Man, the runtime for this one was 10:30. Very passable match, and it forwarded the story a little bit here and kind of planted the seeds of doubt. Like, hey, there might be something up with Bayley and Sasha here. I didn't really expect that good of a match between the two of them, between Tamina and Bayley, and this was a really decent encounter. There is an amazing Seth Rollins promo on this show. Go watch it. It's in between this match and the WWE Universal title match. Shades of ECW's Raven, kind of a real darker look to Rollins. He would get a fresh coat of paint. Fresh paint of coat, if you will. With some new music a little bit later on, but we'll talk about that in the WWE title match coming up after this one, basically. WWE Universal title coming up, the big belt on Smackdown, where we had the champ Braun Strowman take on Bray Wyatt. Not The Fiend, but Bray Wyatt again in that kind of Mr. Rogers children's character-esque build. I kind of laughed at the snide, cheeky comments that Bray is making throughout this match. I thought they were awesome. Strowman is dominating early until the Strowman Express move on the outside is derailed by Wyatt, as Wyatt just kind of sidesteps him and kind of drop toe holds him into the announce desk, and it basically busts up the announce desk. Not to the point where you can't use it anymore, but it really messes things up on there. Really good move, really solid, WWE Sports Entertainment-esque type move. I loved it. So the match continues on. Some theatrics as Huskus the Pig Boy shows up at ringside, just kind of pops up and starts cheering for Bray. Tornado DDT by Wyatt into Sister Abigail, and only a 2. How a guy that size is pulling off a tornado DDT on a guy the size of Braun Strowman, I'll never know, but they look like 2 luchadors in there. That was insane. A second Sister Abigail attempt allows Strowman to land a choke slam, while Wyatt lands Strowman to the outside, and Braun shows up ringside with a black sheep mask after he rolls out. He makes like he's going to join the Wyatt family. The puppets celebrate at ringside, and they think Braun is home. But then he throws down that black sheep mask onto the apron, stomps on it, and then hits a running power slam. I think he wanted to have the power slam end up with Bray landing on the mask, potentially breaking it. But the mask kind of yeets itself out from underneath where Wyatt lands on the apron just prior to, and just kind of ends up in the corner. Still kind of busted up, so good visual from the stomp a little bit earlier on. But a running power slam, 1-2-3, and Strowman retains the Universal title. Remember, Bray Wyatt and The Fiend are two separate entities. I saw some backlash about this online on Twitter post-match. And again, Bray Wyatt, I don't think Bray Wyatt himself is built to win matches. I think this is just a conduit for The Fiend to kind of manifest himself out of these matches. So I think there's a built-in main event already for Backlash or later on in the summer for Strowman and the Universal title, but this time it'll be Strowman versus The Fiend for the Universal title. And, sign me up to check that match out. It'll be a good one. WrestleMania Free gets a rebroadcast on FS1 this Tuesday. You lucky US kids. I live in Canada, so I will not be seeing that, unfortunately. Hopefully you guys enjoy. It is one of the best early WWF pay-per-views that there is. And the original build-up and just there are free great matches on that card that you have to watch to build up for in leading into the show to finally get the feeling on the magnitude on this. Of course, it's Hulk and Andre. You got to watch the build up for that. You definitely have to watch the build up prior to between Steamboat and Savage for the Intercontinental title. And then I would also, if you had the chance, watch the build up between Rowdy Roddy Piper and adorable Adrian Adonis as well. Just due to the fact that feud was very underrated for what it was at that time. And this was Piper's quote-unquote farewell angle while he took off after WrestleMania Free to go do They Live. So anyway, enjoy the pay-per-view on Tuesday. Enjoy the rebroadcast of WrestleMania Free. It is a historically significant event that happened March 29, 1987 from the Pontiac Silverdome, not Superdome, brother, Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. The WWE title was on the line next, and this was match of the night. Drew McIntyre, the champion, taking on Seth Rollins, the challenger. New music for Seth. I like it. The Monday Night Messiah character, again, kind of a retread for him. Fresh coat of paint. It needs basically music, and it kind of reflects from the promo from earlier. He's kind of adopting that Dark Raven-esque type, cult leader character. The Monday Night Messiah. That's what he's kind of adopted now at this point. This was a very hard-hitting encounter with Seth on the receiving end, though, throughout the first few minutes. One shot to the left knee, the one that Drew had repaired, and it evens out. And Rollins starts to pick apart Drew. They end up on the outside, and another flying knee strike from the announce table into McIntyre. Amazing. Drew, though, turns the tables, a huge suplex over the desk. Again, the announce desk locked, not giving away at all. Rollins then hits a huge frog splash for only 2, and then Rollins attempts to bring in a chair to no avail, goes for a stomp attempt, and Mac counters into a Falcon Arrow, only 2, and no one kicks. Well, it's WWE, so everybody kicks out of the Falcon Arrow. Rollins jams McIntyre's knee into the corner. Rollins, though, jams McIntyre's knee into the corner, and there's a big belly-to-back suplex kind of countered by Drew McIntyre that gets Rollins off of offense. And then Rollins, though, counters a Claymore with a super kick, and then a curb stomp by Rollins for only 2. I have down here that final sequence, though, and this final sequence is just insane to wrap up this match. A glass cow kiss by Drew McIntyre, and then a super kick by Seth, and a Claymore by McIntyre. 1, 2, 3, Drew McIntyre retains. And post-match, a respect angle with the both of them? Strange, really weird. After the match, we didn't go backstage, where R-Truth is kind of looking into a photo, and we're trying to figure out what's he looking into, what's happening. And Charlie Caruso goes up and basically asks, "Hey, Truth, what are you looking at?" And it's a photo of him with the 24/7 title. And he basically says, "Tom Brady, I'm going for you." Well, close. Rob Gronkowski is the WWE 24/7 champion right now. Same team, still. Even though it's moved from New England to Tampa, it's still the same team. And I think that's kind of a lead-up thinking here that they're going to involve Gronkowski again, if not on Raw in the upcoming weeks. I think that they might get him involved again for Backlash. There might be something there between Truth, the 24/7 title, and Gronkowski, because with NFL releasing their schedule and that stuff. I don't want to say dropping their schedule, but releasing their schedule, and them kind of acting throughout this pandemic that it's sort of kind of business as usual for them. I think that teams and players will start reporting for camps maybe mid-July or so. So I think they got a really short window to use Gronk. I don't think he'll be able to last out until SummerSlam. I know it's supposed to be in the Boston area and that stuff, but with all the recent cancellations and everything, I think it might be back at the Performance Center. We might be looking at another empty arena Big Four pay-per-view. So I think that they might be kind of pushing him up a little bit. So Backlash to me kind of seems plausible that they'll probably book something for that 24/7 title between Gronkowski and R-Truth. Which, you know what? Hey, as an added attraction for a B pay-per-view in the summer, sign me up. I want to check this out. Then it became time for WWE Rat Race. I mean, the women's and men's Money in the Bank ladder match. And this isn't a match, well, this isn't two matches per se. They were going on simultaneously at the same time. But more of a comedic Netflix short almost. They went the cinematic route again, which I kind of figured they would. First of all, I think WWE should release, once this all wraps up, and once some sort of normalcy begins, whether they're back to running smaller buildings or the huge stadiums again or whatever, I think that WWE should release a box set of all these matches on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, because these are standalone, weirdness, but you kind of want to document these somehow and not on a network. You kind of want hard copies of these. So I hope that there's a WWE Cinematics box set or something coming out, or DVD set coming out, where you have, for example, the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match, and then this match tonight on there already. That's free of them, and whatever is continued to be produced during this pandemic from WWE under the theatrics or cinematics category, because this is some of the best stuff that they have created in a long time, and tonight was no exception. I thought that this match was completely hilarious from top to bottom. There were some weird spots in it, for sure. I thought that the Stephanie McMahon cameo with Dana Brooke in the one boardroom was kind of strange, kind of off-putting. Basically, Dana goes and grabs a briefcase that's hanging from the roof of this boardroom filled with money, and she looks happy, and I thought she had achieved a secondary objective that perhaps we didn't know about, which would have been really cool if they would have outlined it. Hey, there might be some secondary objectives that you could win or something. Having her walk out on Smackdown as like the $1 million queen or something. Dana Brooke might be something to do with her character, maybe turn her heel or something, where she was her strongest as a heel in NXT. Just an idea, just a thought, rather than have Stephanie basically laugh it off. The spot with her running around with Carmella's photo though afterwards was pretty funny, wrapped around her head, and of course you have that still frame. That might make the thumbnail. That was actually pretty good. AJ Styles is afraid of The Undertaker again. Yeah, I mean that is that is going to be with him for a while. I think that's going to be something that they're going to troll him with, and I think he's cool with it. I think that's actually pretty interesting creative, that if he sees something related to The Undertaker, he just gets cold shivers about what happened during the Boneyard match and that stuff. So kind of some cool continuity being built in that universe. And of course, the two winners, we'll start with Asuka winning the women's Money in the Bank. I really like that. I think that Asuka is one of the more unpredictable elements to Monday Night Raw with her character right now, and I think that her going after Becky and having this ability to kind of cash in on Becky whenever is going to be very interesting. And don't forget, I think they're 1-1 against each other head-to-head. So if they do decide to cash in, this will be the rubber match on a big pay-per-view. And hopefully they save it for something big. Hopefully she saves it for a cash-in, for SummerSlam or Survivor Series, one of the big four. Rumble maybe next year, something like that. I doubt she'll hold on to it through to WrestleMania, but you never know. It might be the case. And of course, Otis of Heavy Machinery beating out the entire field of Money in the Bank contestants and combatants for the men's Money in the Bank championship, for the men's briefcase for the Money in the Bank title. Dude, now's the time. They're strapping the rocket to him. He's got the babe. He's got his buddy. You know what? It's time to turn him full Hulk Hogan. Give him the red and the yellow and just let him... He can be the 2020s version of Hulk Hogan, man, because it would be just awesome. I think he would be the idol of every fun-loving redneck big boy down south that you could find, if they could do that. And I think that they might be looking at something like that with him. But yeah, that was an interesting twist for sure, with some of the serious combatants that we had in that match and some of the possible predictions coming out of that and everything. Otis probably wasn't on anybody's radar, but very funny and awesome. So, the all-American boy, Otis, gets the Money in the Bank. Well, he's blue-collar solid right now, but did they make him the all-American? Did they give him the stars and bars? Does he get the tearaway shirts and the headband, brother, and the posing and everything? Brother Jack, dude. We'll wait and see with that, but that could be funny. That could be really funny. All right, folks, I give this show a very entertaining 7.9 out of 10, so just a tick below 8. I think that the runtime kind of caught everybody weird. It got us out at 2 hours and 30 minutes, so the pay-per-view itself started at about 5 o'clock here in the Mountain Time Zone. We were done it by 7:30, so this was just over supper, literally. And, that was just one of the things. That's how quick it went, I guess. Thoughts. Did you like the 2 hour and 30 minute pay-per-view itself? It would be 3 hours and 30 minutes if you watched the pre-show, but, if everybody kind of tuned out during the pre-show and whatever, leave your thoughts below. Let me know. Anyways, I'm Kellen Nitro. Later days, happy wrestling watching. We'll catch you next time on Nitromaniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited. And also quickly before I go, to everybody who has liked the channel on Facebook, the Facebook page all of a sudden has just started to blow up with likes. Thank you very much. And talk to me. Let's get some discussions going on there. And start things up. Let's get a community going. Let's go.